started making music, the biggest influence on me in attitude was the punk rock that was going on at the time. But not the kind of meathead punk rock, the more interesting stuff. Um, but I didn't want to have anything to do with the conventions of three-chord rock music. And I had also learned from the kind of examples of music that I'd been listening to, like even from Brian Eno to Throbbing Gristle to SBK to all these other groups that were making things then, of the importance of sound. Um, so I started with a really limited ability to play the bass. I started working out ways to play these kind of fat chords to build rhythms, and then I started just learning how to make tape loops and working with drummers, giving them a basic idea of what to play, and working with taped sounds coming in and out, and then using a guitar more as sheets of sound rather than as a melodic instrument. But not from a really intellectual standpoint, just more from wanting to make a sound that completely overwhelmed me or the listener, and that kind of filled me with joy. A lot of people see it as dark and ugly, but to me I see it as joyful. But so so that was just the impetus, really. And I was not really a musician, but I wanted to make these sounds, so I started doing it. And as time progressed, we started to get some audience, and because we were heavy and powerful and those kind of things, we started to attract a really kind of stupid element, which I thought was these young boy metal rockers, And that coincided with touring a lot and realizing that it was a limitation to be dependent on being loud and being aggressive all the time. So I started to work with things like an acoustic guitar, or just a piano, or other simple elements, and try to learn how to make something happen without being dependent on those elements. Not that they're bad in and of themselves, but just I didn't want to be dependent on those things. So we did a tour of Europe, and we would sometimes, when we encounter a club that had a tiny little, like we toured Eastern Europe, for instance, and they had no PAs to speak of at all. They would just have a Fender Twin for us to sing from. So we could either play the music very loud and hear no vocals, or we could adjust the entire approach and make something happen. So we did. The drummer would play just a snare, and the bass player would play an acoustic guitar, etc. So we started to just work that way. If the situation was such that it couldn't handle what we normally did, we'd do an acoustic set. So it just led into other things. And then, of course, with Jarbo's influence, she being more of a kind of trained musician and things, and having a really great voice, I started to incorporate those elements as well and learn from them.